Aguilas is a search and rescue group. We look for people who are missing on our side of the border, who have tried to cross looking for a better life. The best way to explain it is we are humanitarian. We're offering humanitarian aid. So many people are dying in the desert, thousands of people dying in the desert, and nobody knows about it. I read an essay that said, when we find remains and we find a body, we'll leave a cross in the desert to commemorate their life, to remember the person who died, and then if the family wants to come back and see where their loved one died, there's a cross there to mark the spot. And so I asked them, could we make those crosses for you? And they said, sure. And one of our associates, Leonard Velasquez, put together about 50 of them, and we delivered them. After I read about what the group was doing, I couldn't believe it. And I did some searches and read some more articles, and it depended on which one you read. If you read one article, it said all these criminals and gangs and drug dealers were crossing, and then another article said something different. So I wanted to find out for myself what was really happening. And so I went on my first search. It was in the Otay Mountains of California. It's pretty rocky. It's mostly mountains. And in the middle of summer, it can be 120 degrees even at night. And so we were looking for a 19-year-old boy. I still remember his name was Alejandro. He had been missing, this was October, he had been missing since August. And so we started at the border. There was probably about 15 or 20 of us. And we started walking in along this route where we thought that he might have walked. And within 2.5 hours, we found a skull and a little bit further away, partial rib cage and pelvis of somebody who had died in the desert, died right there. And later on, we found out it was not the 19-year-old we were looking for. It was a woman who had died there. I still find it difficult to articulate. Somebody was here, somebody walked here, and somebody died here, and if we hadn't come out here, no one would have known that. And then later on that day, that same day, in the afternoon, I was crossing over this very large rock, and at the edge of the rock, there was a little girl's shoe. And I remember thinking, oh, that shoe must have belonged to a 10-year-old or something like that. But when I looked closer at the shoe, it still had some of her foot in the shoe. And that, for me, that was just like, it just still is, I'm dumbfounded. The number one reason I've heard why people are crossing, it's their lives were threatened. Somebody threatened to kill them, somebody wanted their business, their child, and that threat is real. The threat is, it's not an empty threat. They come to our country because they just want to live where they don't have to be afraid. When someone makes the decision to cross, they don't realize what they're going to face. They're told maybe a 2-day walk, and it ends up being 10 to 12 days. You cannot carry enough water for that. You cannot, it's very difficult. It's a very harsh area of this country. And so if someone goes missing, if you're not able to keep up, you're left behind immediately. And there's no way to find your own way out of the desert. It would be a miracle if you could survive at that point. Since 2012, Aguilas has rescued over 800 people alive, and that's an incredible amount for a group the size of Aguilas. And for the volunteers, our volunteers are welders and tree cutters, and they don't have high-paying jobs, but they take their time, they give up their weekends to come out here and look for people and maybe rescue somebody alive. The funding from the Felician Sisters has made all the difference in the number of lives saved. It has to matter. It has to matter to people. Lives have to matter. We're called to love one another. God cares about every life. They are our brothers and sisters. Just because they live across a border doesn't make them not our brothers and sisters.